It's just getting towards the end of my multi-drop gig, and we're going to talk about insurance because somebody asked me to. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is Monday the 24th of April, and we are just over, I would say, well, more than halfway past our multi-drop route today, and you find me on the A34, just approaching sort of like Cheadle, Handforth area, and I'm heading to Bredbury to a hardware store. I've got 3 drops in Bredbury, and then I've got a drop in Tameside College, some chemicals for the lab, and then I've got 3 drops in the Oldham area, which of course is where I live. So I'm anticipating a fairly early finish today. Now I will say that I did actually work a bit of weekend again. I took a job to Coventry, so I was sent to Coventry, and I did that on Saturday morning. Faced with the decision, do I go shopping with the wife or do I do a job that's appeared on the CX? So I took the job that was on the CX, and for a reasonably generous rate per mile. Again, surprised to get it, but you know, it was a Saturday and I wouldn't have done it for any less. And I didn't get anything back, but it was enjoyable nonetheless, because it made a change from multi-dropping, driving down the M6, waving at all the Man City fans, going to see the FA Cup semi-final, and they obviously drove back happy then lot. And there's a final now against Man United, isn't there? Not till June though, but that's probably because of the World Cup. So I did do that, so that added a bit to the old invoices, just really covering things when I'm away, get a few more invoices in. Now this week, I don't know if I'm on this gig every day or not, because the guy who normally deals with it, as I said in the previous video, he's off, and the manager seems to think it's a day-to-day basis. This is the big cheese manager. Now, he did text me this morning when I was already on my way in to say we have a run for you today, which I was given to understand I did anyway. I would have had to go in anyway because there's a couple of returns to take back. So in about an hour, I'm going to text him and say, am I in tomorrow? Do you want me tomorrow? Because if you don't need me, I'm going to take some work from somewhere else, in the hope that that will chivvy him up and say, oh no, definitely want you. Trying to make it look as though I'm really in demand. I'd like to know, because you want to know where you stand anyway. Normally the operations manager will say come in all week, and I think they probably do need me all week, but this guy doesn't seem to like to commit as much. So I'll try and prompt him a bit by sending him a message to say, look, I'll get myself a job, but I need to know. So we'll do that. Now the trouble is, if I do look for work and there's a tasty job and I get it, I'm then committed to that, aren't I? And then if they then say, no, we want you all week, will I mess things up with them? It's a little bit of a dilemma. But I always knew this was not going to last forever. And I do still think ongoing I will get work from them. But this guy works differently than the other guy, so I'll just have to see what happens on that. So I'm going to send him a text in about an hour's time. So we'll leave it at that. So as usual, it's nothing exciting, but we have had a little bit of excitement, a little bit of something to make my pulse race a bit quicker today. And I honestly thought, oh, this is interesting. Not that I'd have done anything about it, because I'd have been frightened to death. But I'll tell you what happened. I went to a house address to deliver some chemicals. It's the kind of chemicals you'll use to kind of strip paint. So we'll just call it paint stripper. And it was a house address. And when I knocked on the door, a lady in a nightwear answered the door. Quite an attractive lady as well. And she told me that this was for her husband, these chemicals, and that he was doing some work in the house. So I asked her where did she want me to put them, and she said, would you mind taking them up to their bedroom? So my pulse quickened a bit. She was an attractive lady. Now you don't normally get, well, you do get it on the council estates, but ladies don't tend to answer the door in their night garments in the middle class suburbs of Didsbury. So all my pulse quickened. I thought, oh, you've still got it, Dave, you've still got the magic. But unfortunately for me, she literally just did want me to put them upstairs in the bedroom, because that's where her husband was working. So never mind, I won't be writing confessions of a delivery driver anytime soon, but it's the only thing of any reasonable interest that's happened to me today, because as we know, the multi-drop route is pretty much same old, a lot of different drops, but essentially it's the same kind of work. So never mind, we can always hope, can't we? But at my age, that's all you get, hope. Anyway, if anything happens significant in the week, or if this carries on, I shall let you know. I have been asked to do something about insurance, so I think I will, but I'll just do a little bit more checking up first, and then I'll put it on this video, I think. Well, good afternoon everyone. It's Tuesday afternoon at the moment. It's 1400 hours, or 2 o'clock for those of you more inclined to do it normally. And we are multi-dropping. I got another day on the multi-drop, and the new gaffer, he seems a bit reluctant to give me a week at a time. Just maybe he works differently, maybe he's looking after his budget, I do not know. So what I told him, little white lie, saying how in demand I am, he needs to let me know early afternoon if he wants me in the next day, because I will take another booking, just like that, because I'm so in demand. Of course that's not strictly true, but he doesn't fully know that, does he? So he's just texted me about half an hour ago saying, got a full run for you tomorrow. Now I suspect they're still going to need me for a while yet, because one of the lads is rung in sick. Coincidentally, the lad who's doing the run I'm doing. None of them seem to like this run in Manchester. At the moment I'm currently in Reddish and I'm making my way to Audenshaw. I've got 4 drops left, so I've got in Audenshaw, then I'm off to Failsworth, and then I've got 2 drops in Oldham, and that's me done. So I should be done on 3:30, which I think is pretty good. All drops delivered, 24 in all. Had a couple of awkward ones, only awkward because I'd never been there before, I wasn't entirely sure where it was. But I find with the multi-dropping work, once you know where these places are, it's all fairly easy, because you know where to go. The guesswork's taken out of it. Like today, Manchester University, the first time I ever went, it's such a big sprawling place, and it's got so many different departments. You can spend almost an hour trying to find the right place. But because I'd been to this department before, delivered there before, I knew exactly where to go. Drove straight outside that department, got the box out, run inside, well, when I say run, I don't run, but walked rather briskly, and delivered it, and I'm out of there, you know, within 5-10 minutes. So that makes a massive difference once you've got to know the run. But they all seem to hate it. I must admit, when I did that Cheshire run, I did enjoy it, because you're not working in the city centres, but yeah, I kind of got used to this. So I suspect, and this is only me speaking, that they'll need me certainly for the rest of this week, all the time, and probably into next week too, because Darren, the operations manager, will be back then anyway, and he just tends to ask me to come in for a week at a time. Anyway, whatever happens, it has been very good financially for me. Not the most exciting, I know, but it's been decent. So I'm on this again tomorrow. Some days it's busy and you don't get finished early. Some days, like yesterday, did my last drop at 3 o'clock in Oldham. Back home just after 3:15. Today, I'm going to be reasonably early again. Tomorrow, who knows? And Thursday, the dreaded Coke day. That's never an easy finish. That's not an early finish because of where they're located in some of them. Because even though you know where to go, it's still a pain in the bum going into some of those big shopping areas and the underground loading bays, etc. It takes time no matter what you do. Anyway, so that's the situation. I did see a couple of tasty ADR jobs on the system today and thought, I might bid on them, but he texted me to book me for tomorrow, so that's out of the picture. Anyway, there's no guarantee would have got them if I'd have bid on them anyway. Someone out there I think's bidding for ADR work at about 40 pence a mile. That's probably a slight exaggeration on my part, but they are bidding stupid money. Anyway, we'll have a bit of a chat about insurance next, I think. Right, so insurance. Now, apologies in advance for those of you who will know all about this already. The videos that I put out are there to help people as well as letting people just see what I'm up to. So some of this will be like preaching to the converted. But I was asked to talk about insurance, so I'm going to talk about this as if you haven't got a clue. And some may argue and think, well, he hasn't got a clue anyway. But for the business that we're in, which is, you could call it courier business, light haulage, but transportation of goods, you need 3 main types of insurance. You need the vehicle insurance itself, the insurance for your van so you can drive it on the road. You need the insurance for the items that you're carrying on behalf of somebody, goods in transit cover. And you need liability insurance. So I'll deal with the liability and the goods in transit first. Liability insurance is to insure you as an individual against any injury or damage you may cause whilst going about your business. Not really with the vehicle, but if you cause injury or damage whilst you are doing your job, you may, for example, be out of your vehicle, carrying a parcel to a goods in depot, walking to ask something, get in the way of a forklift truck who swerves and ends up causing damage, then technically speaking, that's down to you and your liability if you've got in his way. And you could, in theory, be sued for damages or injuries caused. So the liability cover will help to protect you against that, in so much as that your insurance company would meet the cost. The minimum required for the Courier Exchange, I believe, is 1 million. I have 2 million. And I have 2 million because I did some work for another company who insisted that that was the minimum they wanted. So I ended up upping my cover. It's not too expensive. It's certainly, £100 or less, around that kind of figure. But you need it. Goods in transit cover. Whilst you have got the goods on your van, they're not yours, they belong to somebody else, but you are responsible for them the minute they're loaded on your van. So if something happens to them, if they're stolen or damaged in transit or whilst they're in your possession, you're responsible. You would have to pay for the replacement or any damage that's caused. So you need goods in transit cover. Now, again, with the Courier Exchange, there's a minimum sum insured of, I believe, £10,000. But quite frequently, you might not even realise it, but some of the goods that you carry are worth a lot more than that. So if, for example, you're involved in a bad accident and the goods are damaged beyond repair, and it's 25,000 pounds worth of damage, or your van's stolen or something, then you could be liable for the difference. Now, if you're a limited company, not too bad. You can go under and then the liability ends there for you. But if you're not a limited company, they could, in theory, come after your possessions, like your house and things like that. So it's important to make sure you get the right sum insured. Now, I have a policy that covers me up to £250,000. It's like a set sum insured. There is an excess of about £500 on my policy, and the premium was around £200 a year, but it does cover hazardous goods as well. But you can get it from as little as £100 a year, for £10,000 worth of cover. But there are stipulations on it. And if you read the small print on your policies, one of the important things is that you take care of the goods whilst they're in transit. You must secure them against any potential damage. You must do the best you can to make sure those items are secure. So you must strap them down, make them secure in the vehicle. If it's fragile, make sure it's wrapped perhaps in a moving blanket, as well as being secured. Take whatever steps you need to make sure that load is secure. Obviously, they're only secure up to a certain level. In a catastrophic accident, there's not much anyone can do. But as long as the insurance company can see you have taken the best steps you can to make sure your load is secure, then they can't really refuse payment. But they could certainly refuse payment if the goods are damaged because they weren't secured. So bear that in mind. Also bear in mind, they're covered for theft. But again, if you are the type of person who perhaps picks up goods the night before to deliver the next morning, make sure your insurance covers them for being on your vehicle overnight. Mine does. Again, as long as the vehicle's locked and secure. But you better make sure when you take your policy that it's covered for that. Especially if you're carrying valuable things. I mean, I know of people, who carry things like mobile phones. And, if you think an iPhone nowadays, is about £1,000? And you've got a pallet of iPhones on there, you could have a lot of money on there, and someone breaks into your van overnight and steals them, you better make sure you're covered. So those are the two insurances that are relatively cheap to get. But the main insurance you're going to need is to insure your vehicle. And in our case, 99% of the time, it's a van. It could be a various size of vans, ranging from a small van right up to a large van, like a Luton. And maybe even, if you're obviously that way inclined, you might have an LGV. You might have a 7.5 ton, you might have an 18 ton. But I'm just going to stick to vans. Now, you need your van insured to drive on the road. And there's different levels of cover you can have. Obviously, you can have just third-party only cover, where your van's not covered for any damage you may cause to it, but it's covered for damage that you cause. That's the minimum legal requirement you need to drive on the road, third-party only cover. You could have third-party fire and theft, where if it's stolen or sets on fire, you're covered for any damage to the vehicle. And most people, I would suspect, go for comprehensive insurance, so that the vehicle's also covered for accidental damage as well. So if you have a prang, the insurance company will repair the vehicle, providing it's not beyond economical repair, and you'll get your van back on the road. Some insurance companies will provide hire vehicles whilst your van's off the road, but it's generally in a non-fault accident. So once you've decided what cover you want, third party fire and theft, or comprehensive, the next thing is to make sure it's covered for the correct usage. And this is where some people might not realise. Every van on the road, apart from, unless it's a hobby van, is a business vehicle, isn't it? Most vans on the road are used for business. You could be a plumber, You could be a builder, you could be a shopkeeper, and you use your van for your business. So you get business insurance. So you usually cover for social, domestic, and pleasure. So you can use it privately if you own the vehicle, and then business use. But we want business use, but we want it for hire and reward, because we use our van to carry other people's goods for money. If you're a plumber, you're carrying your own goods, aren't you? If you're a shopkeeper, you're carrying your own goods, maybe from the wholesaler or even to your customer's house, but they're your goods that become the customer's once they've paid for them. None of the goods that we carry belong to us. They belong to somebody else, and we are getting money to convey those goods from point A to point B. So we need hire and reward insurance. Sometimes you could call it light haulage as well. But you need to make sure that you're covered for hire and reward. And your insurance certificate must state that it's got the correct usage on it. If you're on the Courier Exchange, the trusted system will check your insurance. You have to be insured before you can operate on the Courier Exchange. And they will check your certificate of insurance to make sure it's valid and in date and it's got the correct usage. Because in the past, and I'm sure out there's many cowboys who do not insure their van correctly. So hopefully the trusted system eliminates that and makes sure it's covered. But the trouble is, because it's hire and reward, it's a bigger risk to the insurance company. The insurance company calculate their premiums based on a combination of factors. Obviously, the value of the van, the type of van, is it a fast van, slow van, and the usage. Now, a courier or transport company is going to be covering a lot more miles than a plumber. A plumber's going to go to point A, do his work there for the day, and then drive back. So essentially, it's almost like commuting, but to different places. He doesn't use his van all day. He might call to multiple addresses and do different jobs there, but essentially, his work doesn't involve the van. The van is there to convey him to where he's going and carry his tools and equipment. We use the van. We earn our money by our van moving. We don't earn money if our van's not moving. So consequently, we cover more miles than most people. So therefore, that's a bigger risk to the insurance company because we're on the road virtually all day. You're constantly driving. Apart from when you're doing your delivery, obviously you want to go and do some more deliveries after that because that's how you earn your money. So as a consequence, the premiums are not cheap. Now, I will use myself as an example for last year's renewal, last year's premium. I am insured just for me only to drive the vehicle. I have comprehensive cover on a 2019 long wheelbase Citroen Relay, and I paid the premium of £2,900 for 12 months cover, including breakdown cover, which is an option you can have on your insurance. And generally speaking, it kind of works out a good deal with the breakdown cover on because it's usually a little bit cheaper than getting it separate, but that's not always the case. So 2,900 quid. Now, if I, for example, on my van, if I was a shopkeeper, had a shop, probably pay about £1,000 for the van to be covered for business use. So the premiums are more than double what you would get for normal business use. So that's something you need to factor in when you're thinking of getting into this business. Your insurance premiums are going to be expensive. Now, mine's a little bit more expensive, probably by about 25%, because I have hazardous goods insurance as well, because I do carry hazardous goods. It used to be not very often, but at the moment it's every day because I'm currently doing an ADR or hazardous goods multi-drop for a company at the moment. So the hazardous goods cover is essential to me anyway. But even without the hazardous goods, I still think my premiums would have been over £2,000 per annum. My insurance is due for renewal in 2 months' time. I'll be shopping around very shortly to find a good renewal price. I don't particularly well, I can't stay with my existing insurance company because they're no longer prepared to carry on insuring for hazardous goods. So I'll be looking about for a new insurer anyway. And I'll be making sure I've got everything in place probably a month before the actual renewal date so I can seamlessly switch over. But it is important that you shop around. Now, the Courier Exchange do have a tie-in with a broker, and you'll see them advertised on the Courier Exchange website. I am with them at the moment, whereas I've not had a problem with them. I know other people who have, and I'll be shopping around and probably placing my business with a different broker. One of the things that really annoys me about them is admin charges. As far as I'm concerned, insurance brokers make their money from commission on your premium. So how they justify charging outrageous £75 a time admin charge anytime you want to change something on your insurance? So I'll be switching over to someone with a more reasonable rate if I can. Because half the time you do the work yourself anyway. So it's important you shop around. Go to as many insurance providers as you can. It's difficult to go on comparison websites for what we do. Certainly for me, for hazardous goods. But there are comparison websites that you can get an initial quote, but then you probably have to ring them. But because we're covering probably anywhere between 30 to 70, 80,000 miles a year, it's a risk to the insurance company. Therefore, it's a higher premium. Once you've found a policy that you think suits you, most insurance companies, if you wish, will allow you to pay that monthly. Usually perhaps a 10% deposit and the balance over the remaining 10 months, but you will pay interest charges on that. But the insurance premium is one of your more expensive outlays that you'll have after fuel and the van. It is not cheap. I know people will try and take shortcuts by hiding this and not saying that, but at the end of the day, if you have a claim and it turns out that you've not told the truth on your premium, on your application, the claim can be rejected, and that's going to cost you big time and probably get you done for no insurance as well if the police have been involved. So it's important that you get the right usage on your insurance, which is hire and reward, or light haulage is another way. But basically, you need to make sure you tell your insurance broker or provider that you need that cover for hire and reward, that you are taking people's goods and being paid to take them. And that's important. And that is why it's so expensive. It's a really expensive thing, motor insurance nowadays, and it only ever goes up. It never seems to go down. I think most people will be paying at least a couple of grand a year, unless they've got a small van. Obviously, if you've been with an insurance company for a number of years and you don't have a claim, you get what's called a no claims bonus, where they'll discount the premium because you haven't had a claim. And another thing is, there's usually a big excess. An excess is the amount of money you got to contribute towards a claim. Mine is £900. So if I was to have a bad accident and the van was damaged and the repair cost was £4,000, the insurance company will only pay £3,100 of that repair bill. I would have to foot the other £900. If it's not my fault, I'd still have to foot the £900, but then I would claim it back against the other party. But most of these policies have big excesses. There's not much you can do about that. And I suppose if you get one with a lower excess, the premium will be higher anyway. For example, if you watch my videos, you'll know that I had a scrape where a skip wagon went through a giveaway system that he shouldn't have gone through, caused me to take evasive action, scrape the side of the van. I had to pay £600 of my own money to have that repaired. It's not worth claiming on the insurance because the excess was £900 and I would have not got my no claims bonus for that year. I'm hoping to obviously have a year's no claims bonus behind me when I shop around for my cover. So that is a brief explanation of the insurance that you need. the kind of cost that you can expect to pay. As I say, you can pay it in installments. I'm hoping to just pay mine off at renewal. I've had a good couple of months on the multi-drop. I've built up a bit of a cash surplus. So when my policy comes up for renewal, providing it's less than £3,000, I intend just to pay it as a lump sum, saving me a bit of money. But for those of us who have not been a bit lucky, you will have the options to pay it. There's little things you can add on to these insurance companies. You know, some of them offer hire vehicles, a replacement hire vehicle. They offer legal protection insurance. So if you have an accident that's not your fault, they'll provide all the solicitors and everything to claim back off the third party, especially if you're injured or something like that. You can add little bits and bats onto your insurance, but essentially you need the vehicle to be insured, whether it's comprehensive, whether it's third-party fire and theft, whether it's third-party only, which is the minimum. You need it to be insured for the correct usage, which is hire and reward. It's a little bit like a taxi insurance, except we're not taking human beings. Taxi drivers get paid to carry people about. We get paid to carry cargo about. And we do more mileage than the average Joe, just like a taxi does. And therefore, their premiums are higher too. Way of the world, nothing we can do about it. I hope it gives you a brief explanation about insurance. I know 90% of you out there already know all about this, and this is for the 10% who possibly don't. There's lots of brokers out there that offer this cover. Google it. I'm not going to recommend anyone in particular because, frankly, I'm looking for new insurance myself, aren't I? And I'm going to be looking on the internet. I've had a few people push me names to try, but I don't want to recommend anyone because I might send you the wrong place and you might have got it somewhere else. So I always say, shop about to as many places as you can and get the best deal that you can, but not at the expense of inferior cover. Okay, that's it. Now, it is actually Thursday now. I've finished my run. It's 4 o'clock and I'm going to go home now. I've got one more day of the multi-drop tomorrow and possibly back on Tuesday after the bank holiday. So I'll do a little bit of a roundup after this, after my run tomorrow probably. And hopefully that's helped some people. Right, Friday afternoon. I hope you weren't too bored by the insurance talk. It was a request. And I'm finished. I'm finished for the day. It's just after 4 p.m. I've completed the run. Now, I'm not in on Tuesday. They don't want me. I think it's the big gaffer. He's a bit reluctant. I did ring. I didn't hear anything. And I'm a bit gutted, actually, because I saw a nice ADR job that would have suited me down to the ground for Tuesday. And the price that they put what it was going for, I'd have done it for that. But I didn't bid for it, thinking that they're going to need me on the Tuesday. And I rang him because I'd not heard anything about coming back in on the Tuesday and said, look, you know, do you want me on Tuesday? It's just that, you know, I'll bid for work otherwise because I want to know that I'm going to work. And he said, no, I'm not too sure. I'd have to tell you Tuesday morning. I said, well, I'm not being funny, but if I pick up a job before then, obviously I'm going to do it. And he said, yeah, if you can get a job, go and do it. Now, the other guy's back on Tuesday. So maybe if I'm not there Tuesday and he wonders where I am, and then he might say, oh, no, you should have got him in. And then they'll drag me in anyway on Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. I don't know. And never was going to last forever, was it? I've just kind of got used to the money, though. That's the trouble. So now I'm going to have to go on the CX and look for a job for Tuesday. I put a few bids in, but no, not got them. Anyway, we'll find out. I've got the weekend to see if anything pops up worth bidding over, haven't I? It was funny, though, because I honestly thought that today, when I come in this morning, I had 2 drivers rang in sick. And I'd sorted my run out, and then it all had to change because they were going to have to get a load of subbies in to fill in for these other drivers who were not going to be ADR. So that meant they had to take half the non-ADR stuff off my van, replace it with ADR stuff that they wouldn't be able to take, change my route. I got less drops, but a slightly wider area. And you know, I was needed. And if they didn't have an ADR driver in like me, they would have really struggled. Anyway, it's irrelevant. I'm going to try and find a job on Tuesday via the CX. Throw some bids in, have a look. I don't think I'll get an ADR one because they've all probably been snapped up by now. And then we'll see what happens after that. So I will let you know. But it's like going back to the old days, this. I've got so used to the decent money and doing this multi-drop that I forgot what it's like to work for a living. Anyway, I hope that everybody has a good weekend. If you like the videos, please give us a thumbs up. It helps the videos get out to a wider audience. If you're not subscribed, why not? Why aren't you subscribed? It's free. It don't cost you a penny. Please subscribe to the channel. It means that you'll get notifications when the videos come out. And that's it. There's no commitment apart from that. If you've got anything you'd like to add, comments-wise, please put it in the comments. All interaction is welcome. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments. If you've got anything that you would think that you would like me to bring up on this channel, put it in the comments and we'll have a look at it. Have a great long weekend. Enjoy yourselves and make sure you don't overindulge. Take care, everyone.